All right, let's begin. I wanted to make a galaxy. I wanted to make a solar system with you all because for many reasons, this is going to play into the formation of life and culture upon the world that we're going to create. And after the quote-unquote lecture, I mean, it was just a lot of introductory thoughts, explaining, not just going, well, yeah, of course, everything's going to orbit in a circle. Why wouldn't it? Duh. Which you can do in world building. There's a lot you could just presume exists. We got trees, we got squirrels, we'll bless them all. But astrology, has had great influence over us as a species and the cultures that have developed from it, where we try to read the stars or just enjoy them, where we find shapes in them to look like the things with which we're familiar. And so let's take a little bit. Oh, coffee. Oh, my friend. If you recall, you might recall a conversation that I have had with you regarding a lot of behind the scenes stuff for Zuvawau. Once it became apparent that we weren't just having a short form game, and that things were getting serious, and I needed to do more than just sort of keep everyone corralled for a couple weeks to tell a simple story about stepping up in the face of a perceived evil, about being a hero and actually doing stuff, which is why the titles, and I know you're familiar with this, but for anyone who doesn't, the titles of every session of the Chroma Company campaign is a verb. Because the entire point since session 0 was meant to get the players and through their characters, I mean, for the characters ultimately, for the tale, to do something. Right? And so that's the hidden secret to all of the Chroma Company episodes. But for a lot of this stuff, Coffee, a lot of it went into it because I just had a personal interest in studying this kind of thing. And so when it came down to resolving aspects of like why Shonuruth was immune to magic, to traditional magic, why would that be? And how could there be alternatives? Or why is it that those who could wield this power of Zuviwau, the entire time, Coffee, I had to have something in mind for you. I mean, I'll speak to you because you're here. You were the bard of the group. Now, you knew that your bardic magic didn't have an effect on Shonuruth. I had to have a way, if things continued as they were, that you would have a meaningful interaction, that you could participate in the final fight. And the way that you would have been able to do so, I mean, not that you didn't play music when you swapped to cleric, but as a bard, was the entire thing that song, that expression, the vibration is a natural force. And you know that natural forces could affect Zuviwau. Or not Zuviwau, could affect Shonuruth. You bonk an aberration on the head with a pipe, and it's going to take bonk damage. You cause it to fall down a cliffside, the aberration's going to take fall damage. You singing and performing set the music and the Hey, Obsidian, had the vibration and the emotion, the will, right? And so that played into the fact that our planet sings. Our planet is consistently producing an orchestra of sound that we don't hear. Without special tools, we are incapable of hearing the song of the planet. But it is a natural song. It is a natural emanation. It is a natural vibration. And so what I had planned for you to do, originally anyway, Coffee, was as Mordecai, the bard. No, our Earth produces music, Awkward Mancer. Through the various radiation and microwaves and such, through the stress of the tectonic plates, our planet, our real life planet, produces sounds. But anyway, that's how you would have participated, Coffee, as Mordecai. That your vibing, your vibrations, your song, as you had clues to indicate that songs soothed those who had been touched by Shonaroth. They soothed Jade. So a lot of I guess cosmic stuff like this, Coffee. I had to infuse it into our Chroma Company game when it became apparent that things would need to be explained and fleshed out in greater scope, with you all showing interest in playing long term. But a lot of this stuff, I'm preaching what I know, and I'm glad that you asked that. So what you all see here, and in fact, I can even swap over, but just to show you what I have. We're going to get to play around a little bit inside our solar system as a model. Imbro got pretty upset when Vanya started to sing, as he is a fake... all right, so... I was only able to catch a little bit of it when you were going through it, Coffee. I was there before the break, and then I caught a little bit after, but then I had to mute the channel because I had to start presenting. But yes, good. Hi, Raven. So if we want to make a galaxy, remember, we have a couple ways we can do that. Right? All right, here I am. I'm a professional artist, everyone. I have paint open. And this is where last night's talk of, what kind of a creator do you want to be? Would you like to craft every little thing from the ground up? Would you like to be more of the clockmaker where you set it and forget it? Or do you just want to have that random smattering of the universe started here. This was the hot, dense core, and it just ended up yeeting a bunch of energy and elements out into the nothing else. And just let it mix and do its thing, wherever it happened and however it happened. So you can choose this. Remember, as the storyteller, the dungeon master, the game master, you have this level of knowledge because you're the one creating the system, right? And it's then from here we go, all right, well, in this branch, we're going to have our galaxy. Oh, there's our stars. And then within that, we are going to have our solar system, which is, let's zoom in. And of all of these stars and even planets, this pixel right here, that's our solar system. And then we zoom in. Remember, all of this is a matter of scale. So this is, in paint, we are as gods doing this. Because there's really no difference. And now, here, at this scale, we can finally have a sun, and we can put a couple planets. Bloop, bloop, there you go. You could probably even barely see it, and I can't zoom in anymore. But you know what? We have an entire solar system around one sun in our galaxy. And this is the grand scheme of the universe. Have fun with that. Play with the scale and play with all the stuff in the periphery. She's not aware it was her signing that did that to him. Coffee Cat says, Cypher explained to Rune that Imbril was a fake, not a real pact holder. Yep, and this pixel is containing our supercluster. And by the way, you remember how I say we're imperfect beings? Well, we're not a perfect sphere. And how do we try and represent a sphere? We draw it with squares. But enough squares zoomed out does look like a circle, doesn't it? But we are all imperfect beings. We hope to be spherical, but it is not something that we can do very easily. But in Iron Chef, we are going to tackle that question. I super duper promise you. I super duper promise you, Iron Chef. All right, so we're going home, everyone. We're undoing creation. we have Control Z'd reality. Such is our godly power, right? So we know that we are either placing, shotgun blasting, or all according to planning, the Legos, the building blocks of the reality that we want. So our universe is here, and it is filled with stuff. And we're going to have to organize that stuff in some way. So, let's ask ourselves a question. We have our universe. That was easy. Let's make our galaxy. Now, is our galaxy... Do we want our galaxy to be a spiral? Do we want our galaxy that's kind of a poor ellipses. Let me see if I can redo that. Do we want an ellipses? Or do we want our galaxy to be kind of just, whatever, man? It's just a blob of dust. There's not necessarily a pattern to the ultimate. It's just all kind of held together by the gravity of different things. It's sort of attracted, right? Yeah, just, it is, but it's not. It is. Now, in the grand scheme of things, is this really going to matter for the world that we build? Maybe not. Probably not. Can you still have a beautiful array of stars and light in ellipses like this? Absolutely. Can you have that in just this kind of cloud? Sure. Can you have it in a spiral galaxy? Yep. So don't worry about like, oh, I can't find motivation or inspiration from our own galactic views. You absolutely can. And you know what? Even if in our real world you can't, this isn't the real world. This is a fantasy world of supernatural elements. A barred spiral is best. I'm not sure I know the specifics of a barred spiral. When Andromeda runs into the Milky Way, that's what will happen to our galaxy, says Awkward Mancer. So whether or not this is relevant, I'll tell you what, let's put up a quick poll. I'm only going to keep it up for 1 minute. Everyone gets a vote. Which kind of a galaxy would we like to build in our workshop? It's a spiral which has arms connected to the core via almost perpendicular bars. Everyone, there's there's about 30 seconds left. Everyone gets a vote. Do you want a spiral, an ellipse, or just kind of a wibbly cloud for our galaxy, which will contain our solar system? All right. Also, I have to plug in my headset. All right, we're going to have a spiral. How many arms? I don't know. If we can... we can put something out there. Uh-oh. Welcome Owlbear in. Hey, we have Anima Rytak. Thanks for the shout out to Alberin, Zelda Elf 90 Studios. Yeah, welcome Raiders. What was going on in your Pathfinder game? We're gonna do another quick 1 minute poll. You went on a trip in our favorite rocket ship. And where was the rocket ship taking you? What was the adventure along the way? And thank you for coming in here as we're talking about galactic things, as we're world building from the universe down. Awkward Mancer, we could put a bar like that. I get it. I'm not too worried about that right now. Hi, Fiendtails. How many arms on the spiral of our galaxy? 1d4, 1d8, or 1d12, everyone? Yeah, hi, welcome, and thank you for coming in with the Owlbear Inn, Fiendtails. 1d12, all right. So I'll tell you what, Awkward Mancer, why don't you type exclamation point 1d12? We have a 12-armed galaxy, everyone. Okay. And now, another question. In which direction should it spin? Ooh. In which direction should we have our galaxy spinning? Tell you what, Coffee, you came in on a raid. Coffee, I want you to roll 1d12, and on evens, and on odds. Evens it is. All right. So we have our galaxy center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Where can I sneak one more in? 12. It's showing, it's so if we took a photograph, it is showing a point in the scheme of the explosion, where everything is expanding or everything's imploding or there's a spinning or something's going on. This is just for the shape. We can be as detailed with it if we want. Hi, IMW, welcome. So here's our galaxy, everyone. I don't know what we should end up calling it, but we have this could create some very interesting night sky. If we have clusters of stars, and of course, as it was brought up, we live at 12 o'clock, asks Awkward Mancer. Do we live on the trailing, on like a trailing edge of an arm? Or do we live towards this probably like super dense middle? Man, can you imagine? The nights might almost be like days. I'm throwing out words. I'm throwing out adjectives. I'm throwing out concepts in this fantasy world, right? That we're building. Because if it's not, so if this isn't necessarily a disk, like so, remember, we have our galactic core, but we would have arms. We might have 1, 2, 3 coming in this way. 4, 5, 6 coming in this way. 7, 8, 9 coming in this way. And then we may very well have, let's see. So we're doing it that way. We have it on both. And then we would need to have 1, 2, 3 going along that plane also. Because remember, we talked about things generally taking on a spheroid shape. So this may not necessarily even be a disk with a dense center. This could in some way, and the arms could be different lengths as we're seeing. We can have a lot of fun with it. Oh, you're going to a Ren Fair Fiend. Very cool. IMW says, in real life, we're around 7 and on the outer arm. So these are things to think about. Where would we be located? Now, in this case, we're making a fantasy world where it could be a lot like the one that we know, to perhaps help with the placement of where we could possibly be. Yeah, I really just started with one corner of an entire planet, Coffee, and you expanded, you grew. All right, everyone. Well, 1 minute poll is going up. Stars with or without number? Stars with or without number? The poll is up. Do we want dense? The sky is like we can't help but see Milky Way smatterings everywhere. Medium amount of stars, like what we're familiar with on our real Earth that we see with our real eyes in real life. Do we want a dusting of stars, like a few stars? Or do you want almost no stars? Maybe there's like 5 stars, and a couple of those cycle with the seasons. You have about 15 seconds to reply. What kind of, ultimately for the world we're gonna end up with? Do we want just the sky is filled? Do we want a more Earth-like sky? Or do we want a little dusting of things, or almost no stars for an emptier sky? Dense stars. Okay. Yeah, in Awkward Mancer, like I am talking about the galaxy. For ultimately what we're doing, I don't think we're going to make a civilization that has a concept of galactic shape yet. So it's good to talk about. I don't want to hem and haw about it. I'm fine bringing it up in chat. I'm not, for purposes of what we're building, I don't know if it's really going to make, I don't know if it's really going to make a huge difference, for if something is barred or whatnot. So I'm not shooting down the idea. I don't want to get caught up on details like that, at least not right now. Coffee Cat says that Zuviwow is about the size of the moon. Or Mars, I forget. Oh, there's a little bit of a difference between the moon and Mars. How is gravity working? I wish I could go to Scarborough, but you are broke, says Crunch. And welcome to you, Crunch. No, you're fine, Awkward Mancer, and I'm happy that you all bring up this stuff. I just don't want to get lost in the details of it when we're just woo. And hello, Desolate Fox. And thanks for the shout out to Desolate Fox Daily. Welcome, Raiders. So yeah, Awkward, you're totally fine. I just don't need to necessarily get lost in those details. So, all right. So we have a 12-armed galaxy, and you all would like this world to ultimately have a sky that is just glimmering with more stars than even what we see in our own night sky with our own telescopes. Okay. Excellent. All right, let's take a peek at our solar system, everyone. Because this is going to play into things as well. Now, in our solar system, we have one sun. It's just one lonely little sun. But we do have some planets. We do have some and you can play around with this on your own computer. I'm just using my mouse to flip things around here. And we just so happen to have some planets that rotate around the sun. And if you're ever not sure, I mean, you can always draw on what we have. Currently 8 planets. And if you're not sure and you want you want to draw on other inspirations, you go, you know what? Let me keep going back to the source of things. And you say, aha, if we're using atoms, right? The building block of our existence, and we have something like this. Well, I mentioned in the last part that atoms have valences. Atoms do have different levels of energy, different numbers of electrons that will rotate around the nucleus. And man, isn't that interesting that we're seeing similar behavior between a simple hydrogen atom and a vast solar system? Oh, isn't that weird? How the smallest thing is behaving, or how the biggest thing is behaving like the smallest thing, right? And so you can always go and say, oh, you know what? What if I took a look at the periodic table? And you choose an inspirational element to you. Now, if you say we have 8 planets, and now how many valence is that? It's not 8, it's 2, as my as the illustration here shows. But there's at least 8 electrons, and you can go crazy. If you look at the elemental structure of things, and if you say no, I want I want a world filled with stars, but I want a world of iron. And you come down here to 26, and you take a look at an iron atom. And you say, no, no, no. This is my world of iron that I'm creating. Then here you go. Maybe the solar system, maybe we have four orbits or four valences in a sense. World of iron is surprisingly feasible. Iron is the most stable product between fusion and fission. Or this is the number of planets that you want. Well, we have 8 planets on our oxygen world. And if we come over, we come over to a periodic table. I don't know. Do you want something else? Do you want to have fun and see what else there could be? Draw on nature. Draw on what we see and what we know. You can always pop back over here and play around in our solar system. And by the way, you can see just how just how far out things are going, right? Imagine how long it's taken for Neptune to take its circle around. It takes us a year with Earth here. And then we have others that are in a tighter circle. So, what's the inspiration? And would our populated world, is life unfeasible on Venus? Oh, it's too close to the sun. Literally no life could exist on Venus. Oh, let alone Mercury. Mercury, are you kidding me? There's no way that life could exist on Mercury. Could it? Could it not? Could it not on Venus? Now, you might say, well, the atmosphere, it sucks if you have a planet that is, has an atmosphere of sulfuric acid, or, I believe Mercury doesn't spin on an axis, so one side is always facing the sun and the other side is always facing away. So one side is super hot and the other side is super cold. Not life that we know of. Bink, and that is the determination. Also, Coffee Cat was talking about the size of the planet, and therefore perhaps even the gravity. You could perhaps have a smaller planet than Earth and have the same gravity if it's denser. In which case, what's the core? Is it an iron core? Is it a lead core? Do you have something that's actually denser as the core of your planet? Therefore, the mass is greater. All right, Rip Artist is checking out. All right, take care, Rip Artist. A uranium core. So in this sense, the Earth is kind of that Goldilocks. It's just far enough away from the sun. It also rotates. And there's enough of the elements that it needed to, do over time, and we're going to get to that in future broadcasts. It is the Goldilocks for life as we know it. But that doesn't mean that life couldn't exist on a closer planet, or even on Mars. Can life exist on? Oh, it's so far away from the sun. Oh, gross. What are you going to regret, Rip Artist? I don't think I'm talking about anything too controversial, I hope. Coffee Cat says the sand and earth of the planet I've played with has sort of a red rust color in it. You know, could life exist on Mars being so much further out? Well, I don't know. If it takes 7 minutes for light to reach us, a little bit longer for light to reach Mars, does that photon cool off? I mean, there's a lot less reaching because you're not as close where it's denser, but could the sun of our fictional solar system be larger? Or, because it was brought about, do we have two suns in kind of a binary system? Or what? Tatooine has 3. Man, can you think about the radiation? Like Tatooine, actually, for having 3 suns in the middle, Tatooine may very well be all the way out here in a Jupiter range, right? But it's getting the energy of 3 suns pouring on it the whole time. So it's still warmer. Having a plant core worth of elements heavier than iron would be fantasy. A planet core worth of elements heavier than iron would be fantasy. But you can always have bigger planet or bigger portion of the iron in the planet's volume, says Awkward Mancer. Do 50 what, Rip Artist? So let's ask you all. We're creating a solar system. Now, if we are in a star-rich environment, no, that's something to consider too. The poll is open for 1 minute. How many suns do we have? 1, 2, 3, or 4? In our fantasy world? $50? I mean, if there's a way that life is created and sustained with 50 suns, absolutely. And that could be magic. That could be, we have to completely reimagine life as we know it. But it is a fantasy world. Though I don't have 50 as an option. I'm keeping it 1 through 4. All right, it looks like you all would like 2 suns in our solar system. Okay, let's get this down. Oh, yeah, it doesn't, right? Because we ultimately don't know, you know, the Goldilocks of a 2-sun system. We haven't been able to study it. We could conjecture, all right, so, yeah, it would probably have to be further out to, you know, for life as we know it, or if we're going to base things on life as we know it. I'll tell you what, though, Rip Artist. How many planets... How many planets are going to be in our solar system? I would like you, Rip Artist, to roll 1d10, and we're going to add 2 to that number. 1d10, and we're going to add 2 to the number. It's arbitrary, but it's because it's a fantasy world. We'll keep it arbitrary. Exclamation point 1d10. Awkward says, imagine a solar system where the suns are not next to each other, but dozens of, was that astral units away from each other? like Pluto's orbit, and our home planet moves in a figure 8 in between. That could be a 2. 11. Oh, that's right, because you got the magic number. Yeah, astronomical units, yeah. All right, lucky number 13 on a 1d10 roll, 1d10 plus 2. We have 13 planets. All right. Now we can have fun. Do we have the moon? Okay, it is the moon. Do we have two of the same stars? Is one of them greater and one of them lesser? Yeah, Rip Artist, see? You wanted to push into fantasy, and you got a result of 13 on a 1d10 plus 2. All right, here's another poll for you all. In this fantasy world that we're going to create, but we got to create a little bit of stuff outside of it. Are our suns comparable? Or is one sun a greater sun and one is a lesser sun? Yep. Yeah, as it was presented, it was one sun and one moon. I didn't go as far into Zuviwow as I have in this exercise, Coffee. Oh, all right, Hunter. Take care, and thank you for lurking as long as you did. Stuff like details like that, hold on to that right now, IMW. I'm trying to keep things super basic. All right, it looks like you all would like one greater sun and one lesser sun. Yeah, and maybe there's something to that substance, Coffee Cat. Or if it's not a substance, what if that is some realm of Zuviwow, where there's almost like a world within the world, such that it might be extra dimensional space. It could be a super dense core, or honestly, it's so small because there is something in the middle that's greater, but the surface, like what was talked about up here before, is like the shell of an egg or something. All right. We have one greater sun, and we have one lesser sun. I don't know. All I'm throwing out there is there's a bigger sun and a smaller sun. I don't know the details of that other stuff. And I want to be careful about getting too convoluted with this. I want to keep this as accessible to people as possible. I don't mind bringing it up. Like I said, I don't mind bringing it up. I don't have the answers for that in the immediacy. I'm trying to keep things as very basic as possible. And that could be something that is disastrous, or the fact that there's the two suns might be what creates magic, or that the neutron star cone of death is magic is neutrons, or you know, that is whatever happens. So I'm not ready to prepare a lecture on the classifications of stars. We can get into that, just not tonight. Please. Bring it up, but I am not ready for that conversation just yet. I just want to set some very basic framework in our system here. So it was brought up that if we have 13 planets, some may orbit the greater, some may orbit the lesser, and some might actually do a figure eight between them. So I'll tell you what, IMW, I would like to know, of the 13, it's probably more would presumably be orbiting around the larger sun. So I want you to tell me with a 1d8 roll, 1d8, how many planets are around the greater sun? Well, possibly. We haven't. All I know is there's 2 suns, so we'll. We're getting to the nitty. Oh, this is what's great about brainstorming with a bunch of nerds, everyone. No, type exclamation point 1d8 in chat. Lands on a 4. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So we have 4 planets. We have 4 planets around the larger. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Woden, I would like you to type exclamation point 1d8 in chat and let me know how many are going around the smaller star. 2. So this is leaving 7. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Seven could very well be on a central orbit. And some could be on a figure 8 orbit. Some could orbit the 2 suns as a pair, too, says Survival. Yeah, we're throwing out ideas. Now, of course, we're making a fantasy world. So we're allowed to be ignorant of some laws of physics. And if you are familiar with laws of physics, I hope this doesn't make your eye twitch too much. But we're throwing ideas out there because we're creating a world of dense stars. We're creating a world contained in this spiral galaxy that there's Gravity, especially with as many stars, gravity is probably a very interesting thing. I kind of like thinking of a world where gravity does work differently across it. You know, depending on the time of day or the time of year, or the part of a concept of a decade or something like that. Or it could be completely arbitrary. What if it's it's every 8 every 8 years, and that there a shift. You know, we like breaking things down into tens. What if the culture comes up with 8s? Why, I don't know a single system that could run on 8s instead of 10s. Come on, people. It's literally impossible to have a system that can run on 8s. I say through my digital I say as I run through everything through digital processes here. I know. That's why I'm giving the look at chat, IMW. All right, so we have some very basic notes now. We know that ultimately on the world that we're going to continue to zoom in on, that it is shared. Apparently, there's some shared custody between the suns. 3 of the planets are orbiting each other while they orbit the suns. Oh, okay. So yeah, there's some spinning ones. So there's like a cluster of them. So we have our rogue, right? We have one rogue figure 8, and then we have some other clusters here. Yeah, some Bolo planets. The Mickey Mouse orbit. Ah, there you go. And hi, Ready to Nap. All right, so if we take this, let's just go real quick. Whether or not the sun is yellow or not doesn't matter. Could be a different type of a sun. We'll get to, we can get to those details. But right now, we know that there are we have 2 planets. These are some distance. This is not to scale. This is simply to just determine that there are things around that particular planet. And then we have we'll go green here, as we have 1, 2, 3, 4. These could be rocky, these could be gas giants. One of these could be triple the amount from this one to this one, and this could only be 1, and this could be 1/2, and this could be 5. I don't know the scale just yet. And then we have this track, which is coming around like so. And one of you suggested that there might be like 3 maybe smaller planets or something that are kind of spiraling around themselves. And so we will put We'll put a cluster of 3. Yeah, that's not where it needs to be. But anyway, we get the idea. That takes care of 3. We have our main world that we're going to have. And so we'll make this a nice bright blue jewel. And that leaves a couple other planets as well. Maybe there's one that could chase us. And then we might have some twin planets as well. I think that was also brought up in chat. That's too close to the red color. Pink. Sugar Plum is sleeping. As long as they have the correct speed to their mass, it can happen, says IMW. Could have a few planets stuck in the center. Hi, Rosewolf. Twin planets like the Earth-Moon system. I mean, this might just be a couple that's just tumbling along. Maybe these are 2 that are actually noticeably getting closer and closer, and these 2 are going to collide, or something along those lines. So we have these set up in this cycle. So these are spinning around. We don't have the astral units measured out here, but we have an idea. We have 2 suns. We have 13 planets. We have some dense stars. It's in a spiral galaxy with 12 arms. And so by this being dense, we're probably closer to the middle of that galaxy, because there's so many stars. We can look out from any direction, wherever we're spinning, however we're spinning. Well, Rip Artist, that could be the prophecy. That could be the thing to avoid. And the best part is, if this is getting to the point where any of you are like, you know what, this is completely ridiculous, and I would never develop a world like this. It's too complicated. It's too much to follow. You know what we do? We close this without saving it, and we go back to a black screen, and we relaunch it again with a black screen. If this is too much, if you go, nah, this is jumping the shark. All right, so that is true. There is magic. There's a point, though, where if magic is carrying everything, it's too... boy, it's a line in the sand where you can get to... you're just relying on magic for a bunch of plot putty, and you have more plot putty than plot points. Or it's showing that there's such a degree of maybe ignorance in the author that you're just relying on stuff that can be anything you need it to be. So if this doesn't work, we can always do this again. Like, I don't know. If y'all hate this, I'll erase it and we'll do it again. But there is a point where it is like magic becomes too much, because you're asking too much of your readers, your players, of the people who are engaging in this. Because when you're presenting the setting, the distraction can be all of the stars and all of the planets, and things are kept from being on the ground for what you want to present with the drama, the interaction, or something, because there's so many distractions. There's so many things that take us off of the planet, that take us off of the action of what's going on the streets of the big city. That kind of a thing. Well, if that does play, if magic plays into theology, which is absolutely fine, this could very well be, this could be a custody battle. This could be, Mama son and Papa son fighting for their kids. This could, whether that's actually happening or that's what the people of this world have come to interpret what happens. There could be some kind of an intelligence that could lead to deities, one or several deities, that could lead to, of course, pact magic if you want to make this for D&D or whatever else, or just it's an intelligence. So there does need to be maybe a core simplicity, so that when you're describing, hey, would you like to play in my setting? We have tumbling, colliding planets, and they go in a figure eight around 2 stars. People start going, I'm good. It sounds cool. I don't even track our one moon and sun. I got to look at my phone for what time of day it is, and the phase of the moon, I don't know. I'm inside my house all day. I never look outside. So there is a balance to consider. But I don't mind. We could adjust this. We could start over again. If this is actually making you scratch your head and say, wait, no. We can salvage this. Where's the consideration? Because you do want to believe in the heart of the cards. I mean, the dice. The story writes itself, as is wont to happen in this workshop. That would absolutely set up for Eldritch or cosmic horror, or just for that very literally otherworldliness. Now, we're not going to make this planet yet. I just wanted to worry about a universe, a galaxy, and a solar system. And I think here tonight we have something. We have an idea. We have a way to start considering how this can work, stories that could come about it. What would the people who eventually live here have to say? And some of this stuff is honestly beyond my education and pay grade. So if y'all are into the astrophysics, like if you actually want to dig into this, I will rely on that, because, when it comes down to, these masses getting that close, how much momentum would be destroyed by their passing, or could they repel and almost like boost each other? Because maybe there's magnets, maybe there's not. That kind of a thing. There's a lot of minutia we can get into. And while this is important to consider, I don't want to get lost in the fact that ultimately, I'm worried about the one world. I'm worried about the one world that we're creating that is going to be our adventuring locale. So knowing about this stuff broadly could be important. It could play into astrology of the cultures, into astronomy of the cultures, into maybe there's systems where Science and faith have no differential. Or everything is about times of great strife that come with the passing too close to something. And so every 8 years, every whatever, there's always a great flood. And what is the culture that would ultimately develop from a world where this happens regularly? What would they think? What would they come to develop? What would they come to study and invent? This way, says Awkward Mancer, you can have mathematically unlikely orbits and practically pre-made pantheon and the end of the day prophecy, or a dozen of them. Yeah. Nat, hello. Boats? Well, I mean, it depending. Boats would be needed for the oceans, and then eventually this culture that could develop might want to get into space boats. Though I don't know if we're going to take things in that direction or get quite to Spelljammer levels of things, if we're keeping it D&D related. And if not, then, space boats. A treasure planet. Ooh, treasure planet, says Rosewolf. So, yeah, and what would that be? What would it be? Would it be a world? Would it be a world of gold? Of elemental gold? Would it be a treasure of some other form? And that's even, and by the way, stuff like that, and we'll get into it when we invent our economy and everything. If gold is a common element on this planet, gold will not have the worth that we give it on ours, in our real life. Because it's too common. There's too much of it. It's too easily accessible. All right, I think we did it, everyone. I think so.